Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first of our panels here at Autumn Horror in the East 2014. This is the Apocalypse for Dummies, and here today with me I have Iain McKinnon, I have Adam Millard, I have David Moody, and I have Rich Hawkins. So we're going to do roughly sort of half an hour with these chaps talking, and then we're going to take questions from the audience afterwards. So to kick things off, guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited were you when there was those rumours that Ebola was turning people into zombies on the internet?
I always get excited when a mass death occurs.
It's very quotable, Adam. Well done.
Yeah.
It's a silly question, really.
No, I think it was covered in the media, in the US media especially. They just freak out, don't they? They proper went over the top. Like 2 or 3 people in America have had it, and then it was 5, and then it's hardly Walking Dead.
What was it, your odds of marrying Kim Kardashian were actually higher than catching Ebola?
Yeah. I'd rather have
Ebola, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have the Ebola. I'll take the Ebola. But
it has been an interesting one. So
it has.
It's the first time that I've seen anything on the news when you're starting to think, maybe. Yeah. I know that there's a huge amount of spin and media bullshit all the time, but there's some footage I was watching the other day of a guy in an infected village, and he was just left to wander, and everybody else kind of put a bit of space around him, and he was just walking through the mud, and he was completely out of it. He didn't know where he was, and you think that's like so many scenes I've written. It's like so many films I've watched. So there's an element of you thinking, could this be it? But then something else happens, and Kim Kardashian does something, and somebody drives a car and just.
I mean, this is Apocalypse for Dummies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try something just now. I want you all to think of an apocalypse. Okay, you've all got one apocalypse in mind. Yeah, just stick with that apocalypse. It's not that Dan Brown thing, by the way. Okay. Now, it falls into basically 3 categories. You've got natural, you've got man-made, and you've got supernatural. Okay? So, what I'd like you to do is, everybody who thought of zombies, vampires, or werewolves, come and sit in this front row here. Great crowd. What do we have? Zombies or werewolves or vampires? Zombies. Fantastic. Grant, you want to sit in front row for us? Thank you very much. Okay. Who thought of super volcanoes or comets or something natural? Great. Ivan, sit in the middle row then.
At the front?
In the middle. We're putting natural in the middle.
Okay.
And who thought it'd be man-made? Who thought it'd be omnicide? Who thought we'd wipe ourselves out? Right, go to the back.
That's hardly fair. She had that chair since 9 o'clock. So those are the 3 main types. Okay, we're going to add biblical amongst the supernatural one, up to you. Where do you want to put alien invasion amongst that list? But those are your 3 main types of apocalypse. And I think the biggest thing is, which of these rows are most likely to have the worst fears come true?
Man-made,
I'd certainly say, to be honest, if anything is going to bring about the end of humanity, it would be our own hubris, so to speak. I think.
I think we're natural.
Yeah.
So I think we're just. We might think we're very important to the planet, but I think if we could be just wiped away just like that. Right?
I mean, the one I'm preparing for.
Just one.
We all are.
Yeah, we all are. I mean, I have a shed full of food, but nobody knows where I live, so don't think about coming round and helping yourself.
What food is it?
I do.
It's horrible stuff. It's little. So the one I'm really concerned about is the solar flares. We're currently in the middle of quite a very energetic period with the sun, and a solar flare could send us, an X-class flare could send us back to the dark ages. We wouldn't even know about it until it had already hit.
But
I've got food, so
we could rebuild the transformers that get knocked out.
You could do, but what I heard was that it would take America something decades to get back
There's
to.
300 main transformers in America.
Yeah.
They build 4 a year.
Yeah.
All those would be wiped out by solar flare.
It would just completely
Yeah, was it Revolution that did the TV series? They did a thing, and it was basically everybody was ended up living like in forests and things because there was no.
Was that the nanobots? Was it something like that? Or was that a different one? I'm not sure.
No, you're probably thinking about Transformers.
They usually are, to be fair, but
but yeah, I think that's the one we need to worry about is the solar flares. Zombies, 10 a penny.
We all know how to deal with zombies. That's the thing, though. Do you know how to build a Faraday cage? Hands up, who knows how to build a Faraday cage? Hands up, who knows how to kill a zombie? So the zombie apocalypse is the one that's probably easiest to deal with, isn't
I think Willow knows how to kill a zombie, to be fair. I mean,
well, the thing is, they do reckon, don't they? I think they say that there's roughly, we have one big solar flare come from the sun roughly every sort of between 500 and 1,000 years. And the last one happened, I think, 1,200 years ago. So
the big one in the 18th century wiped out most of North America's telegraph wires.
Maybe it was 200 years then. I can't remember. They did say we're overdue, technically speaking.
And I knocked out all the telegraph poles. Yeah.
But then you get Pony Express, so it didn't matter much.
And I guess the whole thing with Ebola is it has kind of ruined the kind of, I don't know whether to say dream of a zombie apocalypse a little bit, because of the fact that, I mean, we have had these isolated cases in sort of developed countries and stuff like that. Like you said about 2 or 3 in America, and then 5, and then it's just kind of forgotten about. So what are the chances really of a zombie virus which spreads similarly through saliva and blood actually being able to infect enough people in the Western world that we would see these apocalyptic scenarios like you do in films and television and books and so on and so forth? You know, it has kind of...
Not like Ebola. Ebola's too fast acting.
It's inevitable, isn't it? Because people are stupid. Because when Ebola was being kicked off, it was never going to get on any other country's soil, and it has crept over. I'm not saying that it will be the big one that wipes everything out, but people really just overestimate their own importance and intelligence. And I think that there's anything like that is capable of doing a huge amount of damage. And I think all this stuff is great, but people are just going to go to pieces. People will just absolutely fall apart. We can do all the preparation we want, but I think if it hit the fan, everybody would be struggling. I don't think we'd all be there like preppers and rebuilding and building Faraday cages and everything. I think we'd be back in bed, duvet over our heads, pretending it hadn't happened.
I'll disagree with David there, because yes, you're right about supplies and stuff. We're working on a schedule for 3 days in supermarkets. So if anything happens, we'll be out of food within 3 days in this country. And who here has their own allotment or grows their own food? Very few people.
My grandpa does.
But the thing is, though, when something like that major happens, people do tend to work together. We don't see a big breakdown in society like we would like to see as or zombie offers.
Yeah, but we're talking about we're talking about something on a scale that we haven't seen.
I think to a certain point, people will help.
Yeah.
If you look
but if
back
there aren't
to
other people, if it's just you and maybe a couple of others, it's a very different scenario.
But what are the chances of it just being you and a couple of others? I mean, even the Black Plague, even the Black Death killed off one in 3. Which was massive in Europe.
Well, after it happens, we'll come back to horror in years 6 or 7. We'll see who was right.
But the thing is, we're like seagulls or cockroaches. You know, they say cockroaches are the only animal that survive a nuclear blast. Well, that may or may not be true, but the thing is, there are billions of cockroaches, there are billions of seagulls. Is that we are too widespread and too numerous for an extinction level event to get us all quickly. Like Ebola, it's not really left Africa yet.
Yeah.
And anything else won't be able to spread fast enough to be able to wipe us out. There'll be people in Antarctica and Greenland who will quite happily survive that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But the speed that we destroy will be more than matched by the speed of whatever happens. I just think, we're temporary here. We've got an overinflated opinion of our place in the big scheme of things.
Yeah, I think the whole, we can only scan 1% of the sky, less than 1% of the sky, for asteroids. And every time one sort of comes within, and that's far to us, I get scared. I watch it live. I get on NASA website and just watch it go past, and then as it goes past, I'm just like, oh, thank God.
But that's the thing, is that those are the ones we know about.
Yeah,
it's the ones we don't know about.
Exactly.
It's these long-term comets and asteroids.
There is one, I read one last week, that's going to brush by us in about 4 years' time, Do you remember the Russian one, the Chablinsky or whatever it was called? That was a relatively small one. I think it was 17.
Tunguska.
No.
What was the recent one?
Yeah, the recent one.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Car hood.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Oh, right.
Yeah, the one that shattered the windows and it injured 3 people.
Yeah.
Deadly. But basically, that one was 17 metres across or something, and the one that's going to brush by us in 4 years' time is something like 180 metres across. If it hit, then yeah, wherever it landed was pretty much wiped out. Probably it wouldn't kill everybody, but it'd ruin a few people's days.
Yeah.
But maybe you look back to the extinction of the dinosaurs, we think that was creep. That was a 5 kilometre wide extinction level event that destroyed most of the planet. But yet it didn't destroy all life.
No.
Now, we are a very intelligent creature. We're far more intelligent than most other things that have ever existed. I think our chances of surviving that are far greater than any other creature that's ever existed.
See, I don't. Because I think we might be a very intelligent creature, but I'll go back to my point again, we're also very stupid.
Yeah.
And I think that if 5 people have survived, and these 2 want what those 3 have got, then they'll kill them.
Yeah.
I think if we're not wiped out by something, we'll wipe ourselves out.
Yeah, and I don't know how.
Sorry to be such a miserable.
Yeah, no matter how intelligent you are, I think if your brain's being squashed by a 17-metre wide asteroid, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, it wasn't actually though. They don't reckon anymore that it was just the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, do they?
No.
They reckon it was a combination of things. The asteroid hits, kills off maybe 25% of them, throws up a dust cloud. They go into blocks out the sun for a little while. All the plants die, so therefore the herbivores die. So therefore the carnivores can't eat. And I have to agree with you a little bit there, simply for the fact that our food chain as humans isn't that simple anymore. Obviously food will become an issue, but it's not as simple as plants die, herbivores die, carnivores die, end of the dinosaurs. I don't think it would be that with humans. But at the same time, I agree with what you were saying, simply because the social media kind of shows the panic that people go into about Ebola. You know, one person gets it in this country and suddenly everyone's saying they're going to die.
Well, it's like when it snows, we get an inch of snow.
Yeah.
Then you go in a shop and everyone's in their panic bar, and it's well, the milk's gone. It's unbelievable.
I've got a shed.
But what David was saying is that you've got the want aspect and the physical violence. I think that's on an individual level less likely than on a national level. I think from an apocalyptic scenario, things like climate change, where we have a rise in sea levels, wiping out major agricultural parts of the world, taking out major cities, pushing people to the brink of starvation, causing mass migrations. It's at that point we're going to get political violence that would be enough to destroy the planet. A quick exchange of nuclear weapons to try and thin people out, or Britain becoming an island state on its own. If you've ever watched Children of Men, that kind of situation happening, I think that the political dynamics would be far more dangerous than individual dynamics.
Yeah, it was only a few weeks ago we thought we were going to have to go to war with Scotland again.
I don't like beating you so many times, I really do it.
I think Britain won't suffer as much. A, because we can be isolationist if we need to be, because we are just a little damp island. When you compare us to places like, you know,
no, you
USA.
guys should worry more than anybody else, because I came here on the train this morning. I thought to myself, if I had a stepladder and a pair of binoculars, I could see my house from here. You know, the sea level rises by a couple of metres, and bye bye.
But
You've been moving the Highlands.
that's if Salmond isn't standing there, hasn't erected a fence or something.
Get
like
your
that.
balls back up at that point.
But I think a good example of how Britain is a lot more isolationist compared to other places. Do you remember, I think it must have been nearly 10 years ago now, when we had that earthquake here in this country?
Oh yeah.
And when they have earthquakes in America, everyone panics. Even if no one dies, everyone panics, and it's all a massive hysteria and everything like that. Here, we had an earthquake, and it was quite a fairly major one as well, and it was just like, you know, someone was injured when a tile fell off a roof and hit him on the head.
But America always panics. The media in America is always reactionary.
I just watch Fox News, and you know, it's hilarious. It's scary as well, but it's
You can't listen to anything that's in the media, because you're being screwed over by the media one way or another, aren't you? They're either telling you too much to try and wind you up, or not telling you something. there's no happy medium, there's no honesty in there. I remember that earthquake really well. It was brilliant. We thought it was just a lorry parked outside the house. This doesn't happen here. And we looked outside and everybody's reaction was the same. That was just to peek the curtains apart a little bit and then go back to bed.
There was one in Nottingham last week that made the news. Again, it was a 4-pointer or something, 4 point something, and it made the news. It was like big headlines in Nottingham. But apparently, because they're quite they're built on quite. I don't know whether it's a plate or whatever, or just people living under the city, or I don't know.
Mole people.
Yeah.
The mole people of Nottingham.
So the end you have mole people is the end of the world.
No.
That'd be a cool one. I always thought that. I always loved like Jules Verne kind of stories.
Yeah.
A rift opens up, kind of like what's the Game of the Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A rift opens up under the sea, and loads of things that we didn't know about came out.
I think yeah, we need to be vigilant against kaiju at the moment.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
I'm writing a kaiju book at the moment, so it's
Oh,
at
yeah.
the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, giant monsters, sea monsters coming out. I mean, we know more about space than we do the oceans, our own oceans. We've never been down, and investigated what's on our own planet. So there probably are things down there, monsters. I don't know whether monsters is a
Big animal.
big animals, big beasties down there. Yeah,
The internet is so great for raising your awareness of this. We were watching a video the other week, and Becca, you'll remember this, but was it a leech eating a worm or something?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just unbelievable. A huge metre-long leech eating a worm. It's just the most amazing thing, and you think, that's here and that's now. Nobody invented that. That's not CGI, that's real.
Yeah.
And you're right, there's so much of the planet that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is, we've mentioned supervolcanoes, fleetingly, comets hitting the Earth, plagues, man-made and natural, and omnicide are killing ourselves. What other apocalypses do we have though? We had zombies. What others have we got in the group? Was that it? Have we covered all the bases?
But the natural. Yeah.
Just the natural ones. That ones we're all worried about, the natural disasters.
Gamma rays.
Oh, gamma ray. Fantastic. I do what the gamma rays. When a black hole starts off,
Yeah, not the
or
Hulk.
supernova creates,
Not when,
Gamma rays.
what happens is that there's a burst of gamma radiation that gets funneled by the magnetic field on the supernova or black hole, and it basically shines like a lighthouse or a torch, and if it hits somewhere like Earth, then anything that's not 4 metres underground will just basically burn.
That's like in the Conrad Williams book.
The one, yeah.
Yeah.
But that would only destroy half the planet. That would only take out the planet, the side it faced. So if you were unlucky enough to be on the side of the planet that get hit by this gamma ray, then tough luck, but your cousins in China would be fine. Apart from the fact that we'd lose the
That's a really
ozone layer.
interesting scenario, and that's another book that I'm working on. Imagine if there's something that makes half of the planet uninhabitable, and you know it's coming, so you've got the other half of the planet all trying to crowd it, and that's where the group dynamics comes in again, because I know your house is about to burn, but you're not coming here because this is my house.
Yeah.
But the entire population of the whole Earth could fit on the Isle of Wight. And most of
Yeah,
them are out, we could steal the video
It would be a
recorders.
squeeze.
I think it's interesting now, though, is that with the fact that this new Cobra that the government have formed.
Sounds so cool, doesn't it?
What, as in G.I. Joe?
I was going to say, it makes me think of G.I. Joe. But that's a
Conservative, old school bullshit. Common.
But they're now formed. I think they are the thing for a national widespread emergency, aren't they? Which it does count apocalypses and stuff like that and things like that. So what do you think that the government's actual response would be if, say, suddenly a group of zombies suddenly cropped up in Taunton or something? I don't know.
Would they notice the difference in Taunton?
That's like a Saturday night. Yeah, I mean, I've been out at night out in Taunton, so.
That's the thing, if anything big like that happened, anything unusual like that happened, is that we wouldn't be able to react because it'd be so unknown, so unexpected. If you see something like zombies or werewolves or vampires, yeah, we've written about it in horror, but in reality, we know that's fiction, we know it doesn't happen. If something like that did happen, we'd be fucked. Because you'd be standing going, oh, that's a nice zombie costume, mate, and all of a sudden, you'd have your throat ripped
Yeah,
out.
exactly, and you think, and something, how long would it be until people realise it's not a hoax? Because these things happen, and you see about people.
See,
You know, it'd be too late by then.
If you see a guy dressed up as a zombie or whatever, You stake them in the head first and worry about it later. That's the way I work.
I really thought that
Halloween was a nightmare for me. Just a pile of bodies on my front yard.
That is always the thing that's annoying in zombie fiction, isn't it? It's like, I mean, not so much, but nowadays, people would know what a zombie is when it's all like, you know, what's happening and stuff. And I think that's the difference. That would be like what you said about put your hand up if you know how to kill a zombie. That's why another reason zombie apocalypse wouldn't work.
That's a really important point, because when I wrote Autumn, the first versions back in 2001, nobody, you know, zombies were very much an underground thing, and so I could get away with the entire cast of Autumn not knowing what a zombie was.
Yeah, but it's breaking the fourth wall though.
Yeah,
if you state, oh, this is like a zombie film, what's actually happening here, it's now in the realms of Shaun of the Dead. You can't have a series horror about an existing horror creature.
It's like they exist. It's weird, like some zombie films or books, they exist in a universe where zombie films and stories haven't been made. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And I think they have to for it to be series, because if you break that fourth wall in a novel, then you're tipping your hat to things like Shaun of the Dead and so on.
They do. They even do lampshade that in Shaun of the Dead, don't they? When they don't say the Z word.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
but I disagree, because I've found that in 15 years or so of writing zombie novels, I now do acknowledge the fact that there's zombies there, and people are just talking about the ridiculousness of it. I can't hit that bloke around the head yet. Even though I know he's a zombie, but that's ridiculous.
But to give you your due, David, your books aren't zombie books per se.
No, they're about people who just happen to be
pounded
by millions of dead bodies.
It's not your normal zombie apocalypse, because it's nanites and yours that have basically tried to resurrect dead tissue. Whereas you've got the Romero-esque style zombies, and I think if you're talking about Romero-esque style zombies where a shot to the head does it, then you really can't afford, unless you're writing something comical, to have that level of splitting the universes, as it were.
There's always going to be a comical aspect to writing about zombies.
There's humour in everything, though.
They comically walk along the road with their arms outstretched in a classic pose, that kind of thing.
I mean, a good bit of writing will have the seriousness and will have the humour, regardless of what genre it is. You're going to have to, because that's writing about humanity, and that's what we're about.
Where do you draw the line in your classification of zombie? Because you get some people who will only call shambling corpses that have been resurrected zombies, and then you get other people that consider most similar creatures, like sort of the 28 days later debate. Are they zombies in 28 days later because they're not undead, they're people infected with a virus?
Or Night of the Living Pharmacist from Phineas and Ferb.
I'm afraid I don't know that one.
You've not watched Night of the Living Pharmacist from Phineas and Ferb?
Sorry, no.
Doofenshmirtz creates a device that makes him duplicate. And there's lots of them. That's amazing.
And there was a Father Ted episode, wasn't there?
Oh, Night of the Nearly Dead.
Night of the Nearly Dead, they were handed by old ladies.
Yeah.
The key thing is, it doesn't matter what's caused it, it's just that there's suddenly us and them, them or us, and that's what these stories are all about.
Is that plugged in?
Them or us, available over there. Second lower stop. What else can the crowbar in here? But that's it really, I think. It's that all these stories prey on our fear of the unknown and the other.
Yeah.
I think the zombies, though, there's an added level to that, in that there's the possibility of you changing sides. So there's the added fear of not just you battling against some other unworldly or horrible creature, there's the possibility of you becoming one of them as well.
Yeah, your side loses one, their side gains one.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Or even, could I become one of them myself? And I think that's something that comes out of a lot of war movies and war literature, and where people analyse what they've actually done during combat, and whatever good that they have thought they've been achieving, at the end of the day they have been doing the same means as the opponents they're fighting against. They have become what they didn't want to become.
When you see in like The Walking Dead and whatever, and various zombie films, when one of the protagonists say knows they're going to die, so then a friend puts them out of the misery, or they ask their friend. But I don't think I could. I want to know what it's like. If that had happened, I'd want to know.
You're the one that was.
Yeah, if I'm there dying and somebody's looming over me with a machete, I'm like, mate, not today. I'm going to see what it's like.
Right,
yeah, I want to. I want to.
But what if like the actual process is like immensely painful? Before you actually,
Yeah,
You still.
swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, exactly.
But we've got an assumption, haven't we, that being a zombie is a bad thing.
Yeah,
They make quite enjoy it.
but exactly. You get to just walk around all day, just bumping into stuff.
I wrote a short story recently
The mall.
about the similarity between, as you go further down the line in a zombie apocalypse, similarity between a zombie and a survivor. And it's
Yeah,
the only difference really is lack of heartbeat.
yeah. And zombies don't have debt.
Yeah. Yeah. So in many ways.
So who wouldn't want that? Just not a problem in the world, other than who you're going to chew on next.
Well, that's the direction now that the Walking Dead, the television show, at least has taken, hasn't it? That the zombies, the walkers, don't mention the Z from the Z word, have kind of gone to the periphery of the show now, and it is now again. It's about, like you were saying, us as in the survivors, the main survivors, or them who just happen to be other survivors who probably have similar stories and stuff like that. But they're the enemy now.
Well, that's it. We root for Rick and his gang, but when they come across, say, in the new series, somebody, another group of people who, like you said, they've all survived, but because they're other people, Rick and the gang that we're all rooting for, we want them to kill them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We're sort of like, quick, get in there because they're going to do you.
Yeah.
If they're cannibals as well, that sort of.
Well, yeah, the cannibal thing. And,
Yeah.
Well, I think
the
that's
barbecue.
I think
Spoilers.
I think a different.
Acquired them all yet.
Okay, there you go.
But an example of that that's probably a bit more relevant, so we're not spoiling it, but it was in Series 4 when you had that group that was going after Rick, because Rick killed one of them.
Yeah.
And on the bit when Rick tears the guy's throat out with his teeth.
He hasn't seen it yet.
No, that's series 4.
That's Series
Oh,
4,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Carry on.
things like that, and we're all like, yes, Rick, that's right, yeah, you get it, because they're the bad guy, blah, blah, blah. But if it had been, say, one of them who had killed, say, Glenn, and then they were trying to get revenge on them, we would have wanted them to kill them, if their roles had been reversed.
And they would have gone after, they go after anybody who messes with them, really.
Yeah.
It's got to that point now where, all moral has gone, so it's pretty much.
So go back a few seasons and you've got Rick and Shane fighting over the same woman. Ended up best mates.
I hated Laurie.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But my point is, going back to what I was saying earlier, I quite like that. She's all right.
I liked her in Prison Break.
Yeah. We go back to the original point that even if the apocalypse doesn't finish us all off, we'll finish each other off.
I've got a lot more faith in humanity, I'm afraid.
I haven't.
I think we do tend to help each other more than we tend to hinder. We're a cooperative species. We are designed to be cooperative. We don't survive on our own individually. We always survive in a group.
But it's often at the expense of another group.
But when you look at things like tribalism and even back to the Middle Ages, you still had law and order. When you had violence, it was usually fairly limited.
Back then you had law and order and fear, didn't you?
But you still have law and order. Even ISIS has got Taliban councils where they sit and pass judgment upon people for stealing somebody's sheep.
Everybody thinks what they're doing is right.
Yeah, but you still have that level of man management and government that always appears within human society.
But would that survive in the event of
I think that's ingrained. I think that we are social creatures and we need that. And
It is.
We
It's like
crave that
an
and create it.
evolutionary process, isn't it, that makes us, it's enabled us to survive, sort of, isn't it? Where,
I mean, for example, I'm dyslexic, which I'm quite happy to shout about. And dyslexia is a bit of a drawback in modern society because it means I can't spell. But the part of my brain that covers spelling is doing spatial acuity. So dyslexic have a much better idea about maps and topography and about distances and so on. I mean, you look about a tribal complex, you would have 2 dyslexics in a group of 150 people in each generation. And that's really handy for going hunting mammoth or wild boar or whatever, because you know where to go, you know how to get back to the village, you know the best places to live. So that specialisation doesn't help me as an individual, but it helps my group. Same with anorexia. Anorexics are able to comprehend and do difficult mental tasks far better than other people when they're on the same level of calories. And I know this because I did this last year. Your ability to think is impaired by the food you get. And if you have 3 or 4 people in your village who during a starvation event are able to think straight, that's enough to keep you going. So all these little quirks we find about individuals in society, they make a lot more sense when you take us as a group. We are designed to be a group. That group supports ourselves, they cause synergy, and they help us to survive.
Sorry to sound like a broken record there, but there's always another village, isn't there?
There is, and we progress. The thing is, we'd have wiped ourselves out long before now if we didn't cooperate. Those first few tribes that came out of Africa, they would have wiped each other out. In the medieval ages, when we developed cannon and so on, we'd have wiped each other out if we hadn't found some social way of dealing with each other's problems. Yes, violence solves problems, but violence is not the norm for humans.
I think on that note, does anyone have any questions?
I just want to go home.
I was thinking you were saying about, obviously, the more zombies you get, and people move over to the other side, so they don't become zombies. So eventually there would be more zombies than people. So you'll actually get an apocalypse for the zombies, and then they've got nothing else to consume.
Or you'll have the situation in The Walking Dead, whereby somebody sat and calculated the amount of survivors, how the amount of zombies have killed, and they should have now wiped out the whole of North America with the zombies.
If all the survivors had killed like 10 zombies each, there would be no more zombies. Problem solved. Let's just have a party. And I know for a fact that Rick's group has killed, probably going on for about 1,000 zombies now.
I mean, probably more.
They have a mass staking, don't they?
When you consider when they took the prison to start off with, and all of the walkers that were in the courtyard there,
they've single-handedly took care of half of the problem themselves.
Yeah,
just between them.
I mean, Rick himself must have well over 100 easily.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah.
The ideal way to deal with a zombie apocalypse is also the most boring way. It's just to shut yourself away for 6 months, because by then they shouldn't be locomotive anyway. They shouldn't be moving anyway. But if they are, by that point, 6 months down the line after death, there won't be enough of them left, enough of them physically left to keep going. But it just doesn't make for a very exciting book or film. No. The man went into a room, 6 months later he came out, everything was okay.
That's why they always.
That's what I'm working on.
Sorry.
That's what I was saying about the difficulty of it spreading, and that I guess that's why you always get the zombie fiction skipping the initial outbreak 9 times out of 10. You know, someone goes into a coma and wakes up and suddenly zombies. You know.
I mean, there's certain bits you can add to it, I suppose. If there's a book called Tide of Souls by Simon Beswick, and it's basically a biblical flood basically engulfs the earth, and all the people that die basically reanimate as sort of war-born zombies, you know? And it goes through the preceding sort of like few months of the disaster, and there's like the epilogue right at the end.
That's the best place for it.
Exactly, yeah. And it goes forward about like 20 years, and the zombies are still there because they have some sort of preservative in there, like this virus gave them something. So
It's all ready.
yeah.
But I mean, we've got the virus problem just now. We've got tuberculosis. Talking to somebody earlier about tuberculosis, is that there's so many strains of that now have antibiotic resistance, and we're not developing new antibiotics because they're not commercially viable. So another 15, 20 years time, then a wee accident in the garden, cutting your finger, that could be enough to finish you off.
Scary thought. That's why I don't do any manual labour.
Even your tooth going septic.
That kind of
Not got the dents off
in
of
the
them.
face of human beings cooperating for the good of each other, isn't it?
That's commercialism for you.
Exactly.
There are still some very dedicated research teams working on these sort of things, but they don't get big bucks.
So the only way we're ever going to get to Mars is if Curiosity finds oil there.
But there's another fantastic idea, is why don't we go off the planet? That would save the apocalypse quite happily. If we had even just one colony somewhere else, then we'd be safe.
It's a long drive though, isn't it?
Yeah. It might always be the sun imploding or something, because then that's the whole solar system screwed.
But the thing is, you've got these reasonable fears, things that might happen that could cause society to break down. Yes, the sun might implode. Yes, worms might develop the ability to psychically burn your brain. These things are not likely to happen. But you've got nuclear warfare, you've got climate change, you've got antibiotic resistance. There are a lot of things out there that will cause a vast amount of disruption. But I don't think they'll cause But I don't think they'll cause an apocalypse.
The Yellowstone's been a bit lively recently. The animals are all fleeing for some reason. They're
Nothing to do
saying,
with the fact
they're
that
saying
the ground's been raising up.
no,
No.
it's actually because Yellowstone is like a super volcano. You all know, and it was long overdue. A major eruption.
Was it every 600,000 years, and the last time was 800,000 years ago?
Something like that, yeah. And so it should happen like yesterday, but it hasn't. But I wouldn't want to live on the outskirts.
To be honest, anywhere's going to be in trouble if that goes off. I mean, look at the trouble we had when Aya Hurtle went off, if I've got that right.
Yeah. Spell it.
I'm dyslexic, for God's sake. Come on, pick somebody else.
You're right. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Mount St. Helens in the early 80s going off in America, and the effect of that, a really bad winter, because there was so much crap.
If Yellowstone erupts, they said it would.
Nuclear winter time.
Yeah. North America would be blanketed, and it would basically drift over to us as well. We'd notice if this super volcano went off. Let's just say you wouldn't be able to like get on a flight
Ever again.
forever. So it would affect us.
I think we'd know, considering Yellowstone is a massive volcano, isn't it?
What can we do about it?
And it's like when Krakatoa, which was just it's kind of larger than normal volcano, not massively larger than normal volcano. When that went off, you could hear that around the entire world, couldn't you? So I'm pretty sure we'd all be deaf, and that's how we'd know. Do we have any more questions at all?
Would it be the worst thing to wipe out the majority of us?
No.
Yes.
I'm all for
Us in this room.
No,
Take those three.
I mean, do you not think? Do you think kind of the government or whoever's in power is kind of set on wiping us out?
Well, with the population is at 7 billion now, but in the next, I think it was in the next 10 years, it's going to rise to 12 billion or something. That quickly, it's going to rise because we just don't know how to say no to each other, basically. Do you fancy tonight? No. Problem solved. But with the population going up, and you know where are all these new people going to go? Scotland's falling in.
Yeah. We've got 5 million people and half the land space of Britain, so you have no more space in Scotland.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you can't go to Scotland. So where are all these new people going to go?
That was the only reason.
Isle of Wight, we could all fit on there.
Yeah.
A lot of spare room.
But that's the thing. Would governments sort of have a little secret cult of people by allowing, I don't know, mystery viruses to leak out?
Mind you, there's a lot of natural cults anyway, isn't there? You know, World War One.
Yeah.
A natural cult.
But even then, if you look at the way the birth rates picked back up afterwards, there's a huge rebound. Things like that don't even make a dent on population growth, because even World War One was only really European. I mean, troops fought from all over the world, but in reality, only really Europe bore the brunt of that. Africa, South America, all fine. Population rates, no trouble. The thing is, I think yes, we would suffer if we had some massive disaster that reduced our numbers. I loved watching Utopia, this idea of reducing the numbers so that we had more resources in the planet. But 100 years ago in the House of Parliament, they were debating the problem that London was going to be under 4 foot of horse shit within 10 years because of the amount of horse-drawn carriages in London. What happened? Oil, cars, horse-drawn carriages were not a problem. Now, I'm not saying we don't have to sit back and worry about nothing, because we'll find a solution. But at the moment, the way we're going, our planet resources won't last in the next 50 years. Our grandchildren will be sitting there in mud huts at this rate. But we will find new technologies, we'll find ways to push through. And having a large population base is one of the reasons we can do that. We have more people researching science now than we ever have. We're doubling knowledge in science every 5 years at the moment, and that's only going to increase.
You're just way too optimistic, Ian.
For the stuff I write, you would think I'd be a miserable.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff you write,
I like to pride myself on being quite miserable.
I'm very miserable myself.
You're a cheery apocalypse, you are.
It's a rare sunshine. I don't, you know.
I've got my MRE.
At least have a whinge about the bumblebees or something.
We do need those, yes.
We need the bumblebees. If you see a bumblebee dying, give it a spoon of honey.
Yep, even just some sugar water, that'll do the job. Pop it down next to it, not on top of it, as my son did and drowned the poor little bugger.
let your lawns, apparently. That's the latest advice, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to let your lawns.
Well, is that good news?
A little seed garden with lots of wildflowers. Also, bees only need about 2 metres in front of their hive to be able to get out. So you could place a beehive on top of your garage, and they don't tend to come in houses. You can actually keep bees yourself.
Because no bees means no vegetable. Chocolate gets affected. We all like chocolate. Basically, I can't remember. What was the percentage of food that we lose if we lose the bees?
Almost all of it.
Almost everything that you eat is sort of...
Everything that's good for you. Everything you go and buy when you're on a diet, that's gone.
At this rate, though, it won't really matter, because I was going to say about
it does matter.
No,
it matters
no,
for
wait.
me.
about the overcrowding problem and about what you're saying about the scientific developments, but it ties in about that as well with the food, is that recently we 3D printed a prototype pair of working lungs, I think, wasn't it? How long is it going to be before we can start? Yeah, exactly. How long is it going to be before we can start 3D printing burgers? You know, go to McDonald's instead of going to
3D printing the bees.
Don't they already do that?
What 3D?
If you 3D print the bees, then it doesn't really matter. But you just need something to be able to go around and pollinate. So all these sort of...
Well, hey, if the bees die out, more jobs for people. You know, you could hire people as bees, put them in little stripy onesies and get them go around and pollinate all the plants.
I think the honey jars would be quite as tasty.
No, but they can pollinate the plants.
It wouldn't work. I don't think.
That being said, there are a number of species of ants that actually produce honey as well. We could just switch to that. A bit like dog milk. Well, come the apocalypse, you'll drink what you get.
You haven't met my dog.
Is there any last questions at all?
Do you think the concept of a man-made but using a natural, or messing up something natural, but man being involved, is that an old hat idea, or is that sort of something that can still...
Is that not the fear of science, though? Has that always been the case of, mankind will do something to destroy itself? Is that not a fear of progression? That's how I've always read those stories.
Yeah, well, when they started smashing atoms into each other, that, to be fair, I thought, yes, we're all going to be sucked into a black hole, which wouldn't be very nice, apparently. You turn into spaghetti, and you sort of, everything, all of your body sort of gets turned into spaghetti as you get sucked in. I've done the research.
But you would exist forever, though, because you've always been the event horizon.
You will, yeah, you will sort of, you wouldn't know about it.
No.
Not in spaghetti form. But when...
Are you treating this question with a serious...
Yes, I'm getting there. I do have a point. But yeah, when they started smashing these atoms into one another, and I thought, yes, it's definitely going to be a man-made thing that wipes us off the Earth, basically.
What about the grey gloop then? We're worried about that as well.
I'm worried about everything, mate.
Do we know about the synchronicity? The idea that there's going to be a point where computer technology and nanotechnology goes so far that it will just produce a grey gloop and we'll all be made into who's 20 years away apart. Mark it in your calendar.
And there's the AI as well. Once that gets smarter than us, then we're all...
Or there's the...
Sure, Connor.
James Cameron made Terminator, and these people that are making these superheroes actually call it Skynet. It's just...
Just a scary statistic that I didn't actually know until recently when we were doing this in history is that it would take the ICBMs, the nuclear weapons they had during the peak of the Cold War, it would take 6 of those at the megatonnage that they were using, the regular megatonnage then, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, it would take 6 of those to destroy our atmosphere. And between...
We need that. I'm not a scientist, but I think that's important.
Exactly. Between the US and the Soviet Union, they had, I think it was between 3,000 and 4,000, and just 6 of those would, even if it wasn't nearby, it would destroy our atmosphere and we would all be sucked out into space and die horribly. And it's like...
We might not have to worry about all that, because going back to the AI, is that computing power is going to get so big, so powerful. You've all played The Sims, I take it. Is the idea that we will actually got massive computers for doing weather prediction, but they're not terribly accurate because they don't have enough data. So they're going to try and build computers big enough to contain enough data to replicate the entire planet so they can get more accurate results. But the likelihood is that if that is actually achievable, then we're probably just part of a simulation, so there will be no apocalypse, just an off switch.
I think on that note, it's time to wrap up. I hope you've all enjoyed this panel. We give a big round of applause to our audience here. Thank you very much, chaps, for talking about this. And in 20 minutes, we have the second panel, which is ghosts and why they interest us. So thank you very much.